Привет, I'm Chudo-Yudo, a Ukrainian-American baptized with the name Yaroslav, which is the name that I use in the Society for Creative Anachronism, where I'm known as Yaroslav the Persistent. I've been putting together YouTube videos and putting them up on my channel, and the topics have largely been about Slavic folklore and mythology, but also Slavic history, Slavic culture, in order to help people build an Eastern European persona. So, the topic that I'm on today, I wanted to tell some tales about Koshchei the Deathless, who was always been, for me, one of the scariest characters in Slavic folklore. And I always think of this illustration by Ivan Bilibin when I think of him. Oh, and this one by Viktor Vasnetsov. But then I realized I'd have to talk about him so I could give context to one of the spookier characters of the Slavs before I could properly tell a tale of him. And it looks like I'm going to be doing about 3 of them, because there's whole cycles of Koshchei tales. And if I'm going to spin a yarn or two about this complex being, I figure I need to dig deeper into the character. So who is he? He's an archetypal male antagonist in Slavic folklore, usually called the immortal or the deathless. A symbol of death and magic, he's a powerful wizard, or maybe a demigod, who gains immortality by keeping his fiery soul hidden inside an egg. But the egg is inside a duck, and the duck is inside a hare, and the hare is inside an iron chest or maybe a wooden chest, depending upon which version you read. And that's buried under a green oak tree on the island of Buyan. He's not the only folk character who does this. There's a Serbian character, Baš Shelik, Head of Steel. There's a Hungarian one, Lead-Headed Monk. And there's a Slovak one, Iron Monk. They all hide their weakness inside a nested series of animals. Depending upon who's telling the story, he has different characteristics. Koshchei may be riding a 3 or a 7-legged horse. He may have fangs or tusks. He may possess a variety of different magical items like cloaks and rings that the hero sent to obtain, or he may have other magical powers. In one tale, he has eyelids so heavy he requires servants to lift them up. But usually he's just really skinny and pretty much a collection of bones in a leather bag. Although he resembles the Grim Reaper in many ways, Koshchei is probably more symbolic of a reluctance to loosen one's grip on life and pass gracefully into death. That kind of makes him a tragic villain. He is sometimes completely obliterated by powerful forces, yet his dry, bony body reconstitutes over and over until the soul-bearing egg is crushed. At the moment of destruction, a cleansing fire from the egg envelops the earth, wiping it clean of all its old evil. He's notorious for kidnapping wives, mothers, and maidens, and for holding them prisoner in various places. He even kidnaps Marena, or Mara, or Maria, Morevna, the goddess of death, with whom he has a love-hate relationship. She's his undoing, because, hey, that's what you would expect from a love-hate thing, as she coaxes the location of his soul from him and passes the information to the hero, usually a son or husband, such as Dajbog, the god of the sun, or Prince Ivan, or Prince Asrach. Koshchei dwells upon an island. It is beyond thrice 9 countries in the 30th kingdom, where he is entertained by his captive women and the legendary self-playing harp. He is credited as a son of the Lord of the Underworld and is known for repaying a debt 3-fold. Koshchei's powers aren't enough. He travels on a war horse who aids his master with clairvoyance, or else he journeys alone in the form of a whirlwind. And that recalls another evil enchanter that I talked about, Vichor Whirlwind. The parallel female figure, Baba Yaga, as a rule doesn't appear in the same tale with Koshchei. though exceptions exist where both appear together, maybe as a married couple or as siblings. Sometimes Baba Yaga appears in tales along with Koshchei as an old woman figure, such as his mother or aunt. In some tales, if Baba Yaga is Koshchei's mother, he has a brother, Chudo-Yudo, a fire-breathing dragon, one of the guardians of the waters of life and death. By at least the 18th century, likely earlier, Koshchei's legend had been showing up in Slavic tales. All right, because that's when the stories actually started getting written down. You can find Koshchei's name on some 15th century birch bark manuscripts from Novgorod as a personal name, which I think is kind of cool. Now, personally, I thought his name came from a Russian word for bone, which fits with him being really scrawny. That was also a slang term for miser, but apparently there's connections to the 12th century pagan Kuman or Kipchak or Polovtsian leader Khan Konchak, and he's mentioned in the tale of Ihor's campaign. In the tale of Ihor's campaign, Konchak is referred to as a Koshchei, a slave, who returned from the Caucasus to the steppes and became a leader of the Polovtsi, and is taking part in an uprising. Koshchei's epithet, the Immortal, may be a reference to Konchak's longevity. He is last recorded in Russian chronicles during the 1203 capture of Kiev. If the record is correct, this gives Konchak an unusually long life, possibly over 100 years. For the time, this would have been like 6 generations. And since Konchak was a pagan, Christian, Slavic writers, they're just trashing his reputation. All right, and they're going to demonize him and make him into a stereotypical villain. So maybe this is the origin of the character of Koshchei. On a side note, Koshchei's life-protecting spell, right, with the egg and all that stuff, that may have been derived from traditional Turkic amulets, which were egg-shaped and often contained arrowheads, like Koshchei's egg, which has the needle in it, which basically was his soul. Right? Now, in the oldest tales, Koshchei's antagonist is named either Anastasia or Maria. If Maria is involved, she's kind of connected with death, period. All right. Anastasia seems to be involved with like resurrection. So when the hero ends up helping Anastasia, get away from Koshchei and resulting in Koshchei's death, and marries Anastasia in the end. This is sort of like hinting at the myth of Persephone and Hades and the worlds being reborn. All right, there's a whole bunch of these stories, but I just wanted to kind of give you an introduction to the character, aside from the stories. So I'll be getting into a few of the stories in the next few videos. Until then, do pobачення.